սկզբից մտածում ենք ինչ-որ առևտրական կենտրոն պետք է կառուցեն։ Կամ հյուրանոց, կամ էլ
Դպրոց։
դպրոց։ Այդ ձևի դպրոց Դիլիջանը ում է պետք։
Իմ աղջկան։
Has invited people from around the world to participate in this dream.
Our school in Dilijan is an international boarding school which will attract the kids all over the world.
It's a community of like-minded people who think globally and feel a sense of responsibility towards the future of the world.
Dreaming with Veronica in 2006 about this project. It looks like a crazy idea, and now it is reality.
Good job, guys. You made it.
We hope every graduate from this school dedicates a small piece of their future lives, keeping connected, keeping supporting, keeping giving advice. We'd like this experience to be something you want to share with future generations.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. We are delighted to welcome you to the United World College Dilijan, although we're doing that remotely. I hope that this opening video has already given you some flavor of what kind of school we are. I'm Adam Armansky, and I'm head of UWC Dilijan. This is my second year at the school, and previously I've worked at IB schools in 6 other countries. However, this combination of UWC as well as Dilijan in Armenia has been by far the most exciting professional experience I've had so far. Today, with 2 of our current students, we'd like to share our experiences of the school with you, and we'd like to encourage you to explore us as an opportunity for the next 2 years of your education. So I'd like to ask our 2 students, Tristan and Chaya, to briefly introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tristan. This is my second year at UWC. I'm a Belgian American, so I'm originally Belgian, but I've grown up and lived in California in the United States for most of my life. And I've been living in Armenia for 2 years, and it's really been an amazing experience. So I'm excited to share more of that with you guys.
Hi everyone, my name's Chaya. I'm also a second-year student here at UWC Dilijan, and I'm Sri Lankan by descent, but I've grown up in Australia. And yeah, just as Tristan said, it's been a really amazing opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'd like to say a few general words about our school. As you may already know, UWC schools are not regular international schools that usually cater for international or affluent local populations. because they are based on the idea of deliberate diversity. That's something that is at the core of our experience here. And we welcome students with academic potential from all countries, all races, and all backgrounds. Our mission, as well as our values and admissions process, make us different as well. UWC aims at enabling young people to respond to the challenges in a globalized world and become change makers. The mission of the United World College Dilijan is that of the entire UWC movement. So it is to make education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. Established in 2014, UWC Dilijan, the first international boarding school in Armenia, is the only member of the movement in this region. We have 220 students of 80 nationalities. The school is accredited by the International Baccalaureates, the Council of International Schools, as well as Cambridge International. Our school building was built to the highest sustainability and construction standards and has several important credentials, including a BREEAM certificate of an ecological construction standard, and we also have a status of an eco school. So now I'd like to ask our students a few questions so they can share their experiences with you. Let us start by me asking you to share your stories of how you found yourselves here in Armenia.
So for me, as I was going through high school in Australia, one of the things that I really realized that I was missing is the sort of education that focuses not just on purely my academics, but also on like extracurriculars and the sort of like living experience that you do get here at UWC Dilijan. So as I was going through that sort of realization, I discovered UWC online. And from there, after going through that application process, after learning more about the school, after talking to current students, and as I was going through that with my national committee, it really dawned on me that this sort of education model is really the sort of education that I want for myself. And coming here, it's really shown me that it's opened me to so many other opportunities and the sort of experiences that I've had as a result. So yeah, that's a little bit about how I came to be here, and honestly, not a decision that I regret at all.
Great, thank you, Chaya. And what's your story, Tristan? How did you end up choosing to be here in Armenia?
Yeah, so as I said before, I grew up in San Francisco in California, which is a pretty diverse and international city. And I went to an IB school in San Francisco as well, so I was familiar with the diploma. But I kind of felt like there was this lack of sort of different perspectives on IB, on topics, on life. So I went about looking for a program that could offer that, and I came across UWC through a family member who had attended. And it really, like, when I discovered the movement, I was really excited to be able to open my mindset through real life experience because that's one of the amazing things here is you have people coming from really every single country pretty much that's on earth, and you get to experience and interact with them and become friends and all that kind of stuff. And so when I applied, a big thing for me was being able to experience like the culture of the country I immersed myself in, because there's many campuses, and looking at Armenia, it was this campus that's in a small town but has close proximity to most of the big cities of Armenia, of the country. And so it was a big thing for me, and I ended up putting this as my top choice, and I got accepted, and it was it's been an amazing experience.
Great. Before coming to Armenia and to Dilijan, did you connect with any students? Were there any buddies? Were there opportunities for you to interact with the then students here at the college?
So before I attended, we were presented with a whole different range of opportunities to connect with both current staff, students, and as well as alumni. So one of the most common things that a lot of students here do is connect with their second years or other students. Second years is a term that we use here to refer to students that come from the same nationality or country as you. So, sorry, apologies, my corridor is quite loud. I'm not sure if you can hear that. But yeah, through that, there's also a buddy program that was presented to us where certain members of the student body reach out and provide more information about, for example, the residential life, academics, and all the different parts of living which come from living in an environment that is of course, very, very different to those that you would have experienced at home. So yeah, I think those opportunities and especially my interactions with my second years was really helpful for me, and not just for me, but also for my family, because of course it is a very big deal to step into a completely different country. And growing up in Australia, this is obviously very, very far away. So, and it was the first time that I'd been truly living on my own in this sort of environment. So having some more information about that came directly from the students themselves was really helpful, because you get that sort of first-hand experience that you can't really get from just, reading about it online or watching a video. So that sort of interaction was really helpful. But of course, you can't really know the experience until you come here and live it. But yeah, definitely those programs are very, very helpful for me.
Yeah. So it's a very exciting time in your life now. Tomorrow is the last day of classes, and then you have exams. I'm sure it's a time that you will remember very well. But I'm curious about your first impressions of Dilijan and the school when you arrived almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, I can attest about this one. So I arrived from an overnight flight from San Francisco, pretty long flight. And I arrived about at 2 a.m. in the morning, so it was completely pitch dark for me. And I've never been to Armenia or any country in this region, so it was pretty new. And I got on this bus that was brought by the school, which as Chai mentioned, we had some of the buddies come on the bus to come pick us up. So we already met a few of our second years, and we drove through the night to campus, a short drive to campus. And once we arrived, it was like the sunrise. And, I got to see this amazing school, which, one of the biggest things is it's the facilities. We have insane buildings, like academics, sports complexes. We have a big FIFA football field. We have half a Olympic-sized swimming pool. And so seeing all this, in action, firsthand, and then being able to experience it, being there in real life after seeing all these videos online was, amazing for me. And then the best part was as we, pulled into our dorms to our school where we spent the next 2 years, we saw these rows and rows and rows of almost 100 second years just lined up to receive us at 5 a.m. in the morning. So it was really, a great vibe from the get-go to be able to see, all these people who, wanted me there, and were excited to greet us, to welcome us.
Okay, thank you. And Chaya has already mentioned this a little. You came here from Australia and the US respectively. Very different cultures, different languages, different settings. Can you tell us a bit how difficult or how easy it was to be a foreigner and adjust to being a foreigner in Armenia?
Yeah, so for me personally, I came from a very homogenous town in Australia. So coming into this sort of environment where you meet people from countries that, for me were just like names on a map, or names that you'd heard in passing, or even countries that you didn't even know existed. So it was definitely an adjustment at first. But I would say that one of the big things that stuck with me was how quickly you become accustomed to the way that life is here at UWC Dilijan. And one of the big things is the relationship that you have with your roommates. So I personally have 3 roommates. There are 2 different sorts of rooms in UWC Dilijan. There's 2-person rooms and 4-person rooms. So in a 4-person room that I'm in, there are 2 second years and 2 first years. So through that's one of the initial interactions that you have on campus. And obviously all those people are from very different cultures, have very different traditions. And initially in that first sort of month or so, there's a lot of getting used to the different ways that people live. So whether that be, it might be simple things like, windows closed at night, lights on at what time, that sort of thing. But then as you go on, I think you realize what the differences are in people's sort of perspectives, and that could come through the academics that you have. For example, I take global politics, which being in a classroom with people from completely different regions of the world is very, very interesting, because you get to hear those sorts of diverse perspectives that come through, and you get to hear sometimes firsthand experiences about some of the things that you're discussing. So yeah, definitely it is an adjustment, but I think the value that you get from hearing those sorts of diverse perspectives and then being able to think about that and things that you probably would never have thought about had you been wherever you are currently is really, really valuable. But yeah, of course it is an adjustment, but it is one that once you get used to that, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And then Chaya, you've just mentioned academics a little. I wonder if we could talk about the challenges of the IB diploma program, because as like all United World Colleges, we offer the IB diploma program. It's often referred to as passport to tertiary education, and people hear a lot about its advantages. But can we talk a bit about the challenges of the program as well? challenges of independent learning and meeting the IB requirements in general.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I think it's definitely a challenging curriculum, that's for sure. Not so much as the individual content itself being challenging. Like you learn a pretty like broad amount of things on many different topics, and the way that it's structured, you have 6 different categories that you can pick a certain subject for. So, for example, I pick for my language A, I have English and French, so I take a bilingual diploma, and then I take physics and chemistry for my sciences, and I take global politics and then math. And so you can also take art, theater. You can take a language for that if you're starting out like Spanish or Russian. And if you've already speaking language like Russian or English or Armenian, you can take that in your first language. But I think because it's such like a customizable way to build the diploma, you can really find courses that you're kind of really interested in, of learning about. But I would say that in each subject there really is a lot to cover, especially with the assessments. It's there's an extended essay you have to write. There are internal assessments like essays that you have to write for each subject. There's many tests, and then you have to prepare for internal deadlines, external deadlines, IB deadlines, and then on top of that balance the CAS activities. So there's many creativity. I do TEDx, so I help organize an event, and then you have to do a sport, and then you can help teach in the community. So I teach science to local kids, and it's really a balancing act between all this and balancing your social life, being in a new country. So I say that's kind of the biggest challenge of the IB diploma, especially in the context of being in a new country and away from your parents. So because you're away from your parents, you really do have to be able to dedicate yourself and have that kind of self-discipline to work on what you dedicate your time to. But once you find that balance, which many people do find, it's really amazing to be able to discover so many things at once.
Yeah. So Tristan has mentioned several subjects, and Chaya also mentioned global politics. Perhaps we can just go through the 6 subject groups and explain to our participants what we have on offer. So in the first group, that is Studies in Language and Literature, we offer the literature course, a pure literature course, language and literature course in English as well as in Russian and Armenian. Armenian is available only as a literature course. And then also for the past 2 years, we've been piloting another subject, a new transdisciplinary subject for the IB that is called Language and Culture. So that's available at very, very few schools, and we are lucky to be one of them. In group 2, which is language acquisition, we have Russian, German, and Spanish. In group 3, as you have heard, which is individuals and societies, we have global politics, we have economics, philosophy, history. Anything else? Am I forgetting something? I think that's it. Okay. And then we have environmental systems and societies, which is another transdisciplinary subject, which counts as a group 3 subject or group 4. Group 4 is natural sciences. So in addition to ESS, we have biology, chemistry, physics, but also computer science. And then in group 5, which is mathematics, we have mathematics AA and AI. AA we offer at both high and standard level, AI only at standard level. And finally, we have group 6, which is the arts, and we have visual arts as well as theatre, and both subjects are very popular. And we have a question regarding our curriculum from one of the participants, and I wonder what your perception is, Tristan and Chaya. The question is, does the school have any particular areas of specialization or focus?
Yeah, so I think in terms of academics, the school definitely does have a very big focus on like the visual arts sort of aspect. So here in UWC, we have an amazing art studio, and the art facilities that we have are really, really something to be proud of here. And there are a lot of students that come here to take visual art specifically. And there's a variety of different like media which they have. So there's printmaking, painting, pottery, there's a ceramic studio. So I think that is definitely one of the big focuses of the academics. But as well as that, because we are actually located inside a national park, the outdoor aspect of UWC here in Dilijan is also really important. And the school offers outdoor trips, which happen like twice a month or so, where you can have opportunities to do hiking, caving, water rafting. There's a whole different range of activities that you can do. And I think that really opens up the opportunity to explore the country that we are in. So to immerse yourself in the culture and also have exposure to all those different sorts of activities that you might not previously have had access to.
And adding on to that quickly, for those who are more into like, like team sports and stuff like that, we also have a football team and a basketball team that are both registered in leagues in Armenia, and I think soon to have a swimming team registered. So there are team competitions within the school, and also during practices there are a lot of scrimmages between the students there, and the school has pretty like amazing sports facilities. So we have the FIFA pitch, we have the Olympic pool, we have an indoor sports court for basketball, football, indoor football, badminton, and then we have the outdoor pitch. We have 2 tennis courts. We have outdoor basketball courts, and we have and then also there's like the whole natural park, which many people, as Chai said, do caving and climbing, hiking. There's also in the creativity and activity, the CASs. We have many student-run and student-led CASs that so I lead the fitness CAS. So we meet once a week in the gym to do fitness, but then there's also running CAS where they go running in the national park. There's boxing CAS, there's pretty much any sport, volleyball CAS. And it's very a big part of the school, which is really cool, is they encourage student leadership. So if you're good at a sport, or if you're good at if you're very creative in a certain media, or if you have a passion for service, you're able to quickly start your own initiative within the school. And so here we have a Dili MUN and TEDx, which runs every single year, as well as a robotics team, which competes in the first global competition. I think this year they went to Greece, and 2 years ago to Singapore. And then there's debate classes, there are economics competitions that students are registered in with the school. There's many sustainability initiatives. We have greenhouses on campus, and also a lot of work with the local community. So there's we bring in students from primary schools within the city we're in, but also within the elementary school that is located on campus. And we teach them science, art, theater, sports, and many other things. So it's really cool to be able to interact with the local community. And one last point is we have, if you're interested in student leadership positions, we have these different committees. So we have a community council and student council. And then there's also the way the student body is structured is within tunes. So I don't know if you've are familiar with Harry Potter, but it's kind of structured like that, where we have 6 different houses, which in Armenian is called a tune, and each of these houses compete in sports against each other, in trivia, and we have kind of this very like competitive environment between the tunes, but then also it's kind of this like family that you're brought into. So you have a tune parent, which is a staff member who's responsible for you to make sure you do well in your environment, and you thrive to your biggest potential. So it's great to have a sort of, it's like your family away from home.
Great, thank you. And if you could talk a bit about the challenges of living at a boarding school, at a fully residential school, and what challenges people might encounter when they come from their previous experience of a day school.
Yeah, I think, of course, there are like a lot of challenges that people do encounter, and obviously this differs from person to person, but especially when you first arrive at this school, there will be a level of adjustment that you have from not spending as much time with your family, of course, and maybe like for me, adjusting to time zones for when I was able to call my family was a big one. And you might have a specific routine that you're used to or that you follow when you're at home. And of course, all of that changes when you're living in a school with 200 other teenagers. So kind of adjusting to that sort of routine can be quite difficult as you get started. And you kind of have to learn to compromise with the people around you, learn to balance all the different aspects of living in UWC, whether that's academics, CASs, the social life. And actually one acronym that I was told by one of my buddies before I first came here was the 3 S's. So learning to manage like studying, social life, and sleep, which I think are 3 very, very important parts of being here at UWC, and definitely I struggled with when I first came here, learning how to manage all of that. And it is very, very important to sleep, which I think is one that a lot of people kind of sacrifice a little bit on. So it does take time to kind of balance all of those out. But once you do reach that sort of balance, you really start to see the value in all of those different aspects that you bring to the table.
And also we have a pretty like extensive support system in the community. So there's like the tunes and the tune parents, which are kind of like your family away from home, which are, always there for you. And the tune also consists of your roommates. So many people bond with their roommates, and that kind of creates a sort of brotherhood. But then also we have a well-being counselor on campus. So it's like kind of a psycho, like a therapist who you can work with if you have any problems to work through your issues, whether it's like academic or social or sleep or anything related. And we also have this system of peer listening. So if you're not comfortable going through a well-being counselor, so like an adult, there are certain students on campus who are trained to be a peer who can, listen to you and help you also work through your problems. And then we also have on the more academic side, we have mentors. So we're split into like every student on campus is split into these, I'd say like maybe dozen students in a group, and it's kind of like your more close-knit family, but more academically oriented. And that you meet once a week and or biweekly, and you discuss academics, you discuss everything, and we go on trips together off campus. So we're able to work together through our issues, and that's a great thing. And also, if you do get sick, there's a very nice medical center on campus with I think a nurse on duty 24/7, and we have a doctor, Dr. Nara, who's very sweet and who is on call most days to deal with bigger issues, and a very nice hospital not far from campus that if larger issues arise, we can visit.
Now, as I said, you're about to take your final exams, but you already have received offers from universities. If you could briefly tell us about your experience applying to universities. What was it like? What kind of support could you count on?
Yeah, so for me personally, I know that I would not have been able to go through, like, particularly the US college application process if I had not been here in Dilijan, because the sort of support that we were provided with was really helpful. So I think from every step of the way. So even from your first year, we have university visits. So college counselors from colleges from all across the world come and visit to provide a little bit more information and give some talks about their school. And I think that's an opportunity that, because of the prestige of UWC Dilijan, we do have that opportunity to meet with those college counselors and get that sort of experience that I personally would never have had experience with. And also for students who live very far from colleges that they might be interested with and don't have the opportunity to go visit those campuses. And then beyond the visiting sort of stage, we have a college counselor here on campus her name is Grace. She's lovely. And she has one-on-one meetings with every single student at the start of your second year to help with sort of the initial planning process. So you discuss with her what it is that you're thinking of doing, and that could be anything. There are lots of people on campus who have opted to go to university. There are some that haven't, and from all sorts of different continents across the world. And obviously those different application processes can be very, very confusing. And obviously it does take a lot of time to kind of understand that. So those one-on-one meetings are really helpful. And then throughout the process, we have different sessions. We can schedule meetings with her to get some more information. So definitely the sort of process and the structure that we're provided with here really helped me personally getting through the application process. There are essay advisors that were assigned different teachers. So yeah, I think it's a very, very structured environment that provides that sort of support. And even with also the visa process, which currently has been quite difficult, especially with the United States due to the current political situation. So the school has also offered some support around that sort of difficulties. So yeah, it's definitely the sort of structure that I would not have had I not been here.
And also, I think it's more of it's a UWC and IB thing, and also boarding abroad. But the courses and having to balance all your course load and classes and all that, it has this sort of rigor that's, I think, is from what I've heard from alumni and from friends who've graduated, is pretty similar, if not exceeding the difficulty of at least the first years of uni. And so a lot of people are very ready for university once they graduate from UWC, which means that they're able to enjoy their university years more than they would had they graduate from a more traditional high school. And for applying to universities, I'm from the US, so for me it would have been kind of the same kind of difficulty to apply to American universities. But an amazing thing that UWC offers that is unique to this, and I don't think is anywhere else in the world, is we have the Shelby Davis US University Scholarship. And so this is for any like UWC students who's applying from a UWC to the US, they have a chance to get a scholarship from Shelby Davis, who's an American philanthropist. And he has this foundation where he donates money to UWC graduates to be able to afford their studies in the US and sort of, as I said, as Adam said, the pathway to tertiary education. And it's really something really amazing because I know so many friends from UWC who've graduated, and this scholarship has really enabled them to, pursue their dream career, their dream degree at university, at their dream university. So I would say that's definitely that was a huge motivator to apply to UWC from an American high school.
Yes.
And also just
yes.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I just have one other thing to add on. I think also being a UWC student is a really, really important part, and it's something that admissions counselors also look for when you're going through that application process, because some of the experiences that you have at UWC, universities know are really, really valuable and can be transferred into some of those first years of university. So a lot of first year university students have never experienced living away from their families, living with roommates, or having access to the sort of extracurriculars and the leadership and the initiative that students at UWC take. So those are skills that UWC students have, which universities are really looking for. So I think being a UWC graduate does give you the sort of upper hand when it comes to navigating those the application processes. So.
Yes, and I would just like to add, answering one of the questions that was posted by one of the participants, whether there's a partnership with universities. So Tristan told you about the Shelby Davis Scholarship Program, and that organization has a partnership with a number of universities in the States, including Ivy League universities, but also a range of other universities. And as UWC students, our students have access to that. So there's this indirect partnership with universities. This year, I'd like to add, we were particularly successful, our students were particularly successful with the early decision round. A record number of students applied through that round, and a record number of students was accepted by universities this academic year. We also have a question about career counseling, whether that's available. And that's part of the university counselor's responsibilities. Is there anything else you'd like to add about career counseling?
I mean, as Chai said earlier, I think that we have Grace, who's always available to us, who's pretty like, at least she helped me kind of figure out what I wanted to pursue in university. And there's also a lot of very talented teachers from many different countries in the world who have done many different degrees and who have also had different careers before teaching or went straight into teaching, and can also, there's also a great alumni network at UWC. So when it does come to the time when you're applying to colleges and trying to figure out what you're going to do, there's always graduates from UWC Dilijan, but also from every UWC in the world, who are always ready to have a conversation or hop on a WhatsApp call and talk through you, wherever they are in the career, how it went, or maybe like someone who went to your dream university, who can talk to you about the processes, what the university looks for. So I would say it's definitely like something that's easily attainable through the UWC system and also through its alumni.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on to that. I think, as Tristan said, the networking aspect is really, really important. And also from not just from like the UWC Alumni Hub, as Tristan mentioned, but also from the various events that we hold here on campus. So the TEDx Youth event was held last weekend. And through that event, we had a lot of different visitors and participants who came from all across the country, as well as speakers from across the world. And that sort of opportunity gave I was on the organization team, as was Tristan, but also the students that come to attend the event get the opportunity to discuss with those speakers, with anybody else who's come to the event. And you get that sort of networking opportunity that makes connections that you can then build upon. And I know some alumni who have built off some of those connections, have then secured internships for the summer, which it can then lead into careers. So I think sort of the opportunities that UWC gives you opens so many more doors that you might not even have realized were options beforehand.
Right. And I don't know if you attended it yesterday. We had a presentation by somebody working in the field of design. That was, of course, voluntary, but there are a lot of such opportunities where you can learn about different careers and different career paths. One more thing about university counseling is that we host university fairs. So at the beginning of the year, we have a number of American universities, and then there are some individual visits throughout the year. as well, which I think is very helpful. There's a question that will require you to go back in time a little. It's about your experience of somebody who applied to the United World College. How challenging was it? How challenging, specifically, how challenging was it to write and complete your application?
Yeah, I can talk about this. So, I applied to the American NC. So I had, I think each, like, depending if you apply through GSP or national committees, and each national committee is different, and GSP has its own method. So, but I can tell you from my experience through the NC, we went through, there were several rounds, and, the first round is kind of essay writing. The second round is online Zoom one-on-one meetings with alumni who, interview you. And then our third round was in person at the UWC in the United States. And there I got to meet a bunch of amazing prospective applicants. And then you get to find out which college you went to. So I think for me personally, it was challenging at first to kind of, understand the process and what UWC is looking for and all that kind of things. But then once you really dig into it, if you, give it the right amount of time, it's a process that really tremendously prepares you for university applications, because it has this sort of same kind of rigor, but it's like more a practice round, if you will, where once you get 2 years later to applying to university, even if you don't end up being accepted to UWC, you have already had this experience of applying to like a program that's as selective as UWC. So you end up being able to understand from the get-go what universities are looking for, what you can apply to, what you should put in your essays, how much emotion, how much facts, how much, and then you also know what to pursue when you're at UWC, and what kind of activities you want to add to your resume while while pursuing your IB diploma, to then more have a higher chance to get into universities. So I would say that it's definitely a rigorous application, but it's worth putting in the effort, because it prepares you immensely, no matter the outcome of the UWC application, to be able to apply to universities.
Okay, thank you. We have a question about the academic calendar. I think I'll take this one. So DP1 students, new students, arrive in Dilijan at the end of August for a week of orientation, and some DP2 students who had arrived 2 weeks earlier are involved in that. And then we start regular classes, and they continue until mid-October, when we have what we call a project week. It's a set of 2 5-day weeks, where the first or the other 5 days students spend in different projects, and the other 5 days they decide what to do with. They can either stay here and socialize with the remaining students. They can go home. A lot of students choose to go to Georgia during that time. And then they return for another few weeks of school. And then we break up for our winter break, which is 4 weeks long. And students return to school in January. And classes continue until mid-March, when we have another project week based on the same principle of 5 and 5 days. And then classes continue until the end of May. And then this cycle is repeated the following year, with the exception that the year is shorter for DP2 students. They complete their syllabus sometime in March, and then they have time for revision. And as I said at the beginning, tomorrow is the last day of classes for the current DP2s. Then they have the study leave, and they start the DP exams, with graduation happening on the 24th of May this academic year. There's a question whether there are any language barriers for foreign students. I understand for non-native speakers of English. Do you remember that from initial classes? Were there people who struggled, and if so, what kind of support could they count on?
Yeah, so I think as a native English speaker, this wasn't so much of an issue for me, but I definitely noticed, especially in the first couple months or so, especially in classes, there was a lot of work that the teachers were doing, especially to try and balance out the class. So a lot of that initial academic work that you actually do is more just trying to get people to the same level and trying to understand what sort of skills that people do have. But for a lot of my friends who are non-native English speakers, I've heard it's quite common that as you're living in an environment where you are speaking English with people from all sorts of different language backgrounds, your English does improve over time, and you get you get a lot more comfortable speaking in English, writing in English, or what, like, because the IB does require a significant amount of writing. However, we are provided with a lot of different resources. For IB exams, you are allowed to have a dictionary. For non-language exams, and especially in classes, teachers provide significant support for that. And there are obviously different subject choices which you can make to align with those. So I know a couple of people who don't take English A as a language, like Group 1 subject. You could take a self-taught subject, which means that whatever your native language is, you can take that as a literature subject. So there are a lot of different ranges to and resources which are available for non-native English speakers.
There's a question about how many universities one can apply. We aim support students with up to 10 applications. It doesn't mean 10 different institutions, because it could be more. For example, UCAS, which is the application system that is used for students who want to apply to universities in the UK, allows students to apply to up to 5 universities, but it counts as one application for us. Similarly, when you apply to universities in California, that counts as one application, but you can apply to up to 9 institutions. So 10 applications overall. And there's also a question about trips and activities during the project week. You talked quite extensively about the regular activities. Do you remember any specific trips and activities from your project weeks that are still quite live in your memory?
Yeah. I can talk about some of that. So we have 2 project weeks during our academic year. So 4 in our UWC experience, 1 in the fall and 1 in the spring. And our first project week, which is in the fall when you arrive, is kind of organized more by the school. And you get to, it's this week called Explore Armenia Week. And it's really great because as someone who kind of hadn't really heard of Armenia or its culture or any of that kind of world, coming here, I didn't know what to expect. So during this week, we got to visit the capital. We got to visit the cultural capital, Gyumri. We got to visit, local villages. We got to interact with the community, and we got to visit cultural heritage spots. We went on a trip to the Lake Sevan, which is this really big body of water deep in the middle of the country, not far from the school. And so that's a pretty amazing project week where you really get to understand the culture you're living in. And this is in parallel with the lessons in Armenian that you're given during your first quarter at the school. So, you get to build some basic Armenian before you go on this trip. And then during the second, the spring project week, a lot of students, DP1 and DP2s alike, go on trips to Tbilisi in Georgia. So they cross the border and get to explore this other culture. And then some people, form friends and go on a trip together or go in hiking together. So there's really a lot of trips that you can do during project week. But then on top of that, there's this sort of service element that's built into it, where you get to either become a project leader and plan a project to help the community. So this academic year, I was part of a bus, so a local transport renovation project, where we went and built digital maps and a website for the bus system in the city we live in. And it's this great kind of mix of being able to create your own memories and trips with your friends, but then also being able to interact with the community and the country we live in to understand where you've moved to.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to add to that, as a project leader. So in my second project week here as a DP1, I created a swim camp with one of my friends, and we basically created a camp which engaged both the local community, children from the local community, as well as children from the elementary school here on campus. So during those sorts of project weeks, you get to explore a lot of different skills. So during that first project week, it was definitely not an easy task to do. So we went into it thinking, oh, this can't be that hard. It's just organizing a swim camp. And I think along the way, you sort of experience all these different things. So whether that's taking the initiative to create your own project, or negotiating with administration, reaching out to the local community. And of course, obviously during that project, we did also encounter a lot of difficulties, like the language barrier with the children that we were teaching to swim. So I think Project Week is a really good opportunity to sort of not only explore the country you're in and have some off time from the academic year, but also to explore that sort of service element and giving back to the community. And you really develop crucial skills, which down the line become very, very useful. And I think that's one of the key parts about the UWC experience, is that student-led initiatives. And yeah, those are skills that you just cannot gain in any sort of other context.
Okay, thank you very much, Chaya. We have a hard stop at 8:45 our time, so that our students can go to the final tune time this academic year, which is and in their entire experience here at UWC Dilijan. And it's important that they can enjoy that time together with the other co-years and first years. So thank you very much, Tristan and Chaya, for joining us today. I would just briefly to sum up if in a few bullet points what we hope you will remember from today's town hall. We consider our location as a very significant strength of the school. Our beautiful cutting-edge campus enables us to deliver world-class education. We have ample opportunities for students to make sure that they develop both physically and creatively, and that they participate actively in communities, in their local community. Armenia is a wonderful host country for us, a country with a very rich history, including it being the oldest Christian country in the world, but also it being part of the Soviet Union, and with its location, geopolitical situation, it's also a place where students can learn firsthand about peace and reconciliation in real time. So thank you very much for joining us today. If there are any questions that we have not been able to answer, please email our admissions department. You have the email address in the chat, and we will be very happy to answer any questions that you might have. So once again, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Tristan and Chaya. Enjoy your last tune time.
Thank you, Adam.
And we hope to hear from the participants of this town hall in the future. Thank you very much.